Hi there.
Hey, good morning. Or afternoon or evening, whatever.
Yeah, it's the end of the day for me. And I have some issues cross-compiling, so I'm really happy that my day is at the end.
Cross-compiling the rest?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, because I don't know if you saw, I have this I have a repository on my GitHub where I it's just like a Docker file that gets all the run WASI stuff and the DAIS Labs container D shims, and then just like builds everything and bundles it inside an image. So I use that for Docker Desktop. And well, it fails.
Huh.
It fails since the Yuki one was merged.
I figured that would have been it.
Yeah. So I'm trying to figure out like what libraries we need. Fun.
Guessing libsepcomp.
Yep. And then right now
Hello.
It says it's missing libclang.
Hello.
Hi. Yeah, it says it's missing libclang from LLVM, but I installed libclang and LLVM, and yeah.
Oh, they don't seem to
David.
mark. Well, that may be in here.
All right. Where do I add the host? Where do I put in the host code? Anybody know?
If you
I
click
remember.
participants and clan host.
Ah, there we go. Excellent. Thank you, John. I appreciate it. I always hide it somewhere deep in the bowels of the actions. All right. Let's give until 12:05 and then get started. All right.
Georgie, did you try libsystemd?
I do have it. Yep. I have libsystemd, libdbus, libsepcomp, libelf, and now I tried adding LLVM dev and libclang dev, and it still says that it can't find the libclang inside user lib LLVM 11. So I don't know.
For those joining, before the call, we're talking about cross-compiling run WASI and all the shims and running into issues since the Yuki merge.
Hey, Sven.
Hi.
Hey.
Right. If there are, let's see, we have open discussion for WASM workers. I don't see anything else on the agenda. If folks have agenda items, please add them, and I'll drop a link just in case.
I really like the cursor parking lot for just being there in the document.
Joe, did you already kick off recording? Yeah, okay. So we're online. All right. Let's see. Why don't we call the meeting to an open? Okay, so we are here today to talk about Run WASI Containerd WASM Shims community meeting. We are a CNCF project under Containerd, which means we abide by the CNCF code of conduct. That means be awesome to each other, be kind, be empathetic, and inclusive. So let's call it to order. Do we have any PSAs or reoccurring topics? Actually, before we call to order for reoccurring topics, let's see if anybody is new or would like to introduce themselves. Please feel free to speak up, raise hand, or just join us. All right. If anybody has anything to add during the meeting, if you want to interject, please just raise your hand and then you'll be recognized and we will get your opportunity to speak. All right. So no reoccurring topics. And does anybody have a reoccurring topic to bring up? Okay, with that, let's open the floor to open discussion. We have one item out there for WASM workers server shim demo on him.
Yeah. So yeah, from since the last meeting, I wanted to demo the shim that I was working on the PR. By the way, thank you, David and Joe, for the reviews and for the suggestion on that pull request. So yeah, I could make, I think it's already everything more or less completed. Some of the issues that I found during creating the pull request was related a bit on my environment because of macOS, the M1 compilation. I don't know why Cross was not finding the right binaries for linking stuff inside the container when I was building the Rust project. It says, like, for example, that muscle, it was not recognizing the muscle run lib, but it was just setting or using a different location that didn't exist inside the container. So this is the reason I had to include a Docker file there. I think I can show you actually. I think it's going to be better. Let me share my screen. Let me find Visual Studio Code first. Okay, so I think you can see my Visual Studio Code. Let me increase a little bit the font. So yeah, so the issue that I was facing when compiling the project was I had to create this container for Cross, just for defining the specific environment variables to properly link the final binaries that should be used. It was compiling until I reached the point in which I have to compile an OpenSSL for muscle, just because we are WASM worker server tries to pull information from a remote server, and it's where it doesn't find this specific binary. So it just tries to, I think, as far as I remember, it tries directly to go to muscle runlib, which doesn't exist in my current environment. So this is the reason I had to include it. This is not included in the PR because this is something that I would love to investigate more before actually sending any change on this side. So yeah. So about the shim itself, it's to be honest, it's super similar to the others that you created before. Fortunately, the Run WASI library provides a lot of common things that every service uses. So it's about preparing the information from the OCI bundle. Then it starts the worker information. In this case, one of the changes that I had to introduce that we were discussing in the PR is that WASM worker server has a special relationship between the runtime and the modules. It uses the std in and std out to pass the data and to get out the data. This is a current design that we did for quickly onboarding new languages into the Wasm Worker server support, but in the future, we want to change it into proper host functions that will actually provide this information, and then we can use std in and std out as we will use for others. Then after that, we just started. It's as simple as just serve, and that's all. And it's start serving all the information. So here I have a running cluster that I created with the make file that you already provided in the repository with Cat3D. So now if I do the make test, it actually prints all the information, the one from Spin, the one from Slide, and the one from Wasm Worker server. That in this case, the one that we have by default is a website. So let me actually try to open this. So yeah, we have the hello world from Wasm Worker server. So this is running as bots. Any information that you print to the std error, that was the only option that I had left for showing some logs from the model itself. It prints in the worker server log. This is a specific example from JavaScript, doesn't print anything, but I include another one from Python that actually does this job. So just to show a little bit more about the examples that I include, I think it's important to explain a little bit the angle from Wasm Worker server, why a bit different from the other shims. So this is a slide from a presentation that I did some weeks ago. So the difference or the angle that we were working with Wasm Worker server is to quickly onboard workers written in different languages. So the Wasm Worker server, it just takes the information from the local file system, it reads the file, it associates the name of the file to a specific root, and it starts serving that information. So it supports from, let's say, pure WebAssembly models, like, for example, the ones written in Rust that you can connect with the library that we also offer. And we also allow you to write directly source code like index.js or the hello.rb or the Python source files. So these files are mounted on runtime in the specific interpreted the interpreters from the different languages that we compile into WebAssembly. So in the end, you don't need at the beginning to compile all the source code that you are using into a WebAssembly model, because Wasm Worker server will take the right runtime, it will put the source code inside, and then it will start serving the request. It comes with performance issues, of course, but yeah, the ability to do it quickly, it's something that we are currently working on, and the performance, it's something that we will cover in the future. Said that, these are the examples that I was running. So for example, for the Wasm Worker server, the example that you saw, it only includes the hello.js file, because the JavaScript interpreter that it's based on QuickJS is embedded inside the Wasm Worker binary. It doesn't need anything more. So this is the actual worker that you get. It's pretty similar about how other workers in different platforms like Cloudflare workers and Fastly Compute works. Yeah, basically you build a response with that information. You can set headers and you can return the information. And for the Python one, it works super similar. So the Python example is almost the same code, but in this case, it's just you define the function called worker, and then here you can do the same. You can set the headers, you can provide a response, and then you return that information back and reply to it. The only difference between these two examples is the Docker file start from scratch and only include the source code. And in the case of the Python, it requires, in this case, to actually install first the runtime that will download that python.wasm file. And then it just copy the information of the runtime, the configuration file, and the py, and the hello.py source code. Yeah, that was everything I had to show. So if you have any question or anything that you want to discuss, feel free.
There's a question in the chat. Julian is asking which runtime is used by Wasm Worker server.
So yeah, underneath it's Wasm-time. Yeah, we use Wasm-time as the WebAssembly runtime. Thank you for raising the question, Sven.
I have a quick question. So those environment variables looks like they're x86, x64. When running a build for, say, ARM, that you'll probably need different VARs, I would imagine. Have you considered that?
So you mean when I was building the actual Wasm Worker server binary, right? Yeah, so in this case, since it goes through the emulation, I think it's the case why it uses those specific ones. So I would need to check how the configuration from Cross may work to work with different environments. That's the reason I didn't want to add that to the PR, because I need to research a bit more on that side. I'm not super familiar with Cross, but yeah, definitively, the ideal situation is where you do make, or say you make with the current configuration, and it compile for the target architecture in which you are running on. So you avoid emulation, because it's true that anytime I do make up or try to compile the different shims together, I think it takes 25 minutes or something like that to compile everything. So yeah, I was commenting like the make file just to ensure that I compile just once and then reuse everything. But yeah, something to discuss. If you think this is a good topic for the project, I can open an issue and start discussing the different solutions that we can work there.
Sure. There, you can also add here cargo or the cross file. Instead of using, you can specify by architecture as well to use different different Docker files if you want to.
Okay.
It cross is kind of a pain, but it's like I'm not sure if there's a better way. I totally open to that too. I think Georgie had done some nice work with Docker files and building cross compilation. We may want to take some notes from there and
yeah, of course. I'm super open to learn more about that.
Store away. Any other questions? Any comments, feedback on the demo?
I think you mentioned that building the Docker container super slow for the Wasm Worker server. I'm assuming you haven't added the Docker ignore file to ignore the target, which is pretty big, and they all bundle into the Docker context when you build it.
Actually, I think, I mean, when I mention about, this is about the, when I was mentioning it takes long, it's for building the binary. So I wanted to actually include the target just to reuse the same builds constantly. So I kept those because it's the way that it just do the incremental thing. I think that ignoring the Docker may speed up the boot of the container for the building environment, but then it will take longer because it will need to build and compile everything. Not sure if I'm missing something.
So BuildKit should be able to cache pretty well everything.
Okay.
And for the target, you can also use, before building, you can call cargo fetch. So like it can be a layer above where you have all the dependencies that are fetched and compiled.
Okay.
But I have some Docker files, and I mean
that's good to know.
Yeah. So like if you have your Docker file written well, you should be able to change something and then rebuild, and it only rebuilds the application and not all the steps above. So and also when you use, if you want to cross compile using the Docker file, you should use like the latest version of the XX tools, because they have things for cargo, because like the platform triplets is different in cargo and in all the other tools. So they added that recently when I asked Kevin to have that for me.
Okay.
But there's, I'll resend. I have actually a repository with a Docker file that builds all the Run WASI shims.
Okay.
It cross compiles it. It doesn't work today because of the latest changes, but I'll be fixing that tomorrow.
Cool. That's super cool. Thank you for sharing that. I will take a look to see how the different steps work together for allowing caching capabilities. Is this something that you may add to the project, or this will be kept as a separate?
I don't know. It depends if the different projects need it or want them. I just needed at one point, I needed some place somewhere where I have the binaries, so I built that, but I didn't have the time to take a look. But yeah, I don't know if Runwazi or the Days Labs folks want, I can contribute, of course.
Yeah, I think it was just time. Like it's a scarce resource for everyone, and we just hadn't gotten around to it. It was, kind of working as it was with Cross. But if Anil, if you see like build steps that Georgie has set up, and you want to include those in your PR, then we could follow up with another PR afterwards that changes the way that the build is done for the other shims. Like, I don't, obviously you aren't responsible for that kind of stuff, but we're happy to follow up on it. And
Okay.
Yeah, it would be a nice improvement.
Thank you.
Okay, going once, going twice. Thank you for the demo. That was very nice. Awesome. So the next open discussion item is distributing using OCI artifacts. I'm not sure who added it, but please speak up.
Yeah, it was me. I don't really have anything intelligent to say about it. I was just wondering, like, if we could have some discussions, because I also wanted to, since Brian is here, I know he knows a little bit about Containerd and all this stuff. So just wanted to see where, I know there was some people testing different solutions. And so just wanted to see where we are on that, and if also we can help, I can help somehow, because I want, once I have some time, I want to play with that. Yeah.
Awesome. So how about I get a little bit of background on what has been thought about. So we're running into issues with building images from scratch, and the differences between, like, say, Windows running WASM workloads as well as Linux. And it seems like it would be antithetical to WebAssembly to have to build multiple architecture images. The whole promise of write once, run wherever kind of idea doesn't seem to make as much sense when you start thinking about, okay, now I need an architecture or an image specific to Windows, I need an image specific to Linux. It kind of, I don't think it shines. What would really shine is a platform independent way to package up WebAssembly modules and then execute them, and whatever other files that are needed as well. So perhaps a spin YAML, spin toml, or slight file, whatever have you, static content perhaps. Maybe even static content is built into the modules themselves, but I don't know. I think we need some flexibility there. And yeah, I'll get off the soapbox. James.
Yeah, so I think one other thing there too is the work that you're doing, David, with the WARC and OCI registry backing. If we have multiple modules, WASM instances, not instances, what's the word for it?
Binaries.
Well, it's the
components,
the WASM components. So you have multiple of those, and they can get kind of put together, we want to be able to store those in the OCI registry as individual artifacts so that we don't have a single, so we can deduplicate a bunch of that data. And then when we pull it on the container D side, we want to be able to stitch those all back together. So I think that's the other side of the story there. So a while back, a couple of weeks ago, I started looking into this a little bit, and so we came up with a few different approaches. The first one was potentially trying to use stream processors in container D. That didn't work out. I have a little prototype. I linked it to one of the issues that this was on. Container D only sends the layers, so we can't go and look at other layers, or we can't manipulate them because they do a hash on top of that, and so the data, the container D just says, nope, sorry, you can't change the data there, which makes sense. The next one was the transfer service in unpackers. This is a new thing in 1.7 container D, and Brian knows much more about this than I do. But I've been looking into that, and that actually looks promising. We can essentially, there's a pipeline of functions that get called on these images as they're getting unpacked. And so we can inject a function in there, look at all the different layers, put them all back together. Or in this case of Windows, we need to put a couple extra files in there to make Windows happy with the layers. And so that approach looks pretty promising, and I've been working on a prototype. I kind of started yesterday. And as soon as I have that, I can share it. Another option was the shim pooling. I guess that's something that's being discussed in container D. I don't know anything about it. And I think one other thing that I had way out, but I don't think it actually makes sense after looking into this more, was a custom snapshotter type thing for just WASM that could look at all the layers and unpack them and put them in the right spot and things. But I think this transfer service looks pretty promising at this point. So.
So does the transfer service has some other features that the current client doesn't have, right? Or
No. The transfer service is essentially just taking the client pull flow and sticking it into the daemon. So it's the same sort of image handler functions and all that kind of stuff. We just want to be able to essentially inject a plugin into that container D plugin into that and wrap it.
Yeah, nice. I was thinking also about a custom snapshotter, but the way I understand it, it's not the snapshotter that does the unpacking of the image, and it's the unpacking that fails. So yeah, I woke up and then tried, and then yeah.
One other thing that's a little bit longer term I would like to do is make a proposal to OCI for changing the image spec to allow for, I don't know how we can make it more generic than WASM, but essentially allow the image spec to specify, oh, these are module requirements that also need to be fetched and also need to be passed down to the runtime, and let the runtime handle it. Like in the case of container D, if this is standardized, container D can just have it built in. Oh, this is how we handle this on Windows. This is how we handle this on Linux. It'll just fetch the modules, put them through some pipeline that makes them work with the rootfs, or preferably not the rootfs, a separate directory that just gets passed down to the shim with the modules in it, or with the, yeah. But yeah, that's the general idea, I think. That will take forever, though, I think. But
yeah, but that's what Spin does today with the blobs. It has it knows the media types of the modules, and then other stuff is layers, and then it does the merging itself. So it would be great if we could have a spec for that. But yeah, like you said, will be long, I think.
Yeah, I think the splicing that you're talking about is something that we are going to talk a little bit more in WARG. I need to update the registry proposal there to take into account splicing, and that way we can start to get that specification running over there, gather community feedback, and then that can help inform how we build this towards the container D side. Again, it is kind of like, here we are now, how can we make progress, and then how can we get to a better future? Anyone have any questions or comments?
I just want to say thank you. Thanks everyone for the answers. It got me up to speed into what's going on.
Yeah, I'll share something as soon as I have it working. I'll post in the stream processor prototype I did if you're interested in looking, but it just doesn't work. So
Also, for what it's worth, there's still work to be done upstream in Containerd to have CRI use the transfer service anyway. So like there's going to be some other work there, which it's work that's expected to be done. It's just nobody's picked it up yet. And we need it for other things as well, like image signing, verification and stuff like that. So yeah.
I think
There is. Oh, go ahead, James.
All right. I think that's why I like the transfer service in particular, is because it kind of plugs into the existing pipeline. So you get all of those things like image signing and those types of things that just plug into the existing system. Whereas I don't know exactly how it would work with the shim pulling and stitching the other side. You would maybe have to re-implement a few of those pieces or plumb back into Containerd. Whereas if we do it in the Containerd in some capacity, then we get that out of the box. Is my thought right now anyways.
Yeah, we may even be able to convince the Containerd maintainers to support like a draft media type. Just like, here's what we're thinking about. Can we plug this into Containerd to just make things work? And see how that goes.
I do have some residual concerns about user experience, developer experience. Right now, it's really easy to just cook up, images that have a WebAssembly module there and a file there. That's really compelling. In the future, if you're having to bake like artifacts, then there's probably some extra tooling or something that's actually doing that baking. And to me, it's not nearly as compelling as the I have a Docker file and it works just the way like everything else works. Anybody have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think for sure the tooling will need to get updated. I don't know if BuildKit would take it, but like something like where, if the platform is WASI, then do something different than just a regular tar layout like is currently done. But just a thought.
I'm not really sure if there is a one-size-fits-it-all solution for building these artifacts. Maybe the projects, for example, like Spin, just need to maintain their CLIs. That's you have a project-specific one, which of course isn't that great for developer experience. Like just one Docker size can be used everywhere. Understand the problem.
Anything else? Any other thoughts, comments, concerns that we'd like to cover on this topic?
It might be good to just kind of gather all this into like one sort of project grouping to say, here's what we want to do. Here's the different places that needs to get done. Here's how we're dealing with DevX. Here's how we're dealing with distribution and changes that need to be done in Containerd and all that kind of stuff.
Totally agree. That's and I think that was called out kind of in different issues across multiple repositories, right? Yeah, to be able to lay out the plan and be able to, or at least a proposal of a plan, would be really helpful to anybody operating in the community, I would imagine.
At the moment, the WebAssembly working group under the tag runtime has been, emerging. So how is Runwazi related to that? So is it completely independent, or would it be, I would say, point to organize such efforts?
That is an excellent question. Does anybody have any information? I've seen a lot of very prominent names stepping up to join the working group. I would like to be involved as well. It's I can't imagine that we wouldn't discuss Runwazi, but I think there's going to be a lot of discussion of how, like, it's such a nascent space that I imagine that we'll have discussion about a wide variety of ideas and how we can make this work consistently and well across the ecosystem.
I send a link to the chat about a proposal draft from Tech Runtime. That's all I know about it.
That's at the moment everything there is. So Cicata is being built into this Google Docs document, and as far as I know, there is not much more than that. But I would now take from this meeting that there is no direct relation from Runwazi, so it's just roughly around in the same cloud native space, and we try to be good neighbors.
I think that's a great summary. Awesome. Yeah, let's all get involved in there and see how we can all work together. I mean, similar goals. All right. Anything else we want to run through? Anything we want to chat about? Okay. Do we need to go through any issues, any future work, anything like that, or did we cover what we needed to? I will take the crickets as saying that we have covered what we needed to today, and that everybody has a desire to have more time. Okay, with that, let's adjourn the meeting. And I thank you all for attending. Thank you all for sharing your experience, your expertise. You're all greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thanks all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.